So I'm honored and proud to have him here this evening. He will give an update about things going on in District 7 and then bring our superintendent back. So thank you, Joe Wingate.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you, Sabrina and Darren, for inviting me to do this. I want to say a couple things real quick, and I'm going to introduce our superintendent, let him come and talk about our schools. Though, here in District 7, obviously you all know we've got facility, new school being built here relatively soon, and so that's exciting news. Also, I will say that I am excited about the progress that our schools are making. I know there's been some conversation here recently about we don't need to be celebrating our school system. It's not where we would like it to be, and I would echo the sentiment. I think the superintendent will too, that we know there's much work to do, but we also know that I know from when I started on the school board that we were in a pretty deep hole, and I'm excited about our leadership. I'm excited about what Dr. Johnson has, the change he's brought about. I'm excited about the fact that in the short time he's been here, not quite a year and a half, I guess, we got the arrow going in a different direction. And while I'm not here to have a pep rally and necessarily get too excited about that or celebrate it, I do like to acknowledge when hard work has been done and people have stuck their neck out and stuck their nose into the work. And I think we're seeing some benefits of that, and I'm looking forward to much more of that to come. So, Dr. Johnson, will you come on down here and talk a little education? Thank you, guys.
Right. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you, Commissioner and Councilman, for having me. I'll tell you that I live in this district, and so I came to ask them the hard questions about what they see as the future. Just joking. I'll tell you, our school board is really phenomenal. Our chairman, Joe Wingate, and our entire board, I have the privilege of working very closely with them. They really set the vision, direction, and my job is to carry that forth. And I'm blessed with a great team of people that are really doing phenomenal work, from district leaders to school level leaders to support staff, and obviously our most important assets, which are our teachers that work tirelessly every day. I've had the opportunity to really go throughout the district. So Joe mentioned something that I think is really critical. We have seen some success in several areas. Let me back up and maybe talk philosophically about what we believe and what I share. Are there any Alabama football fans in the house? Roll Tide. Sorry, Tennessee fans. I'm not necessarily an Alabama football fan. I'm a Notre Dame football fan, and I'm feeling pretty good right now about what we're doing. But the reality is that Nick Saban has done a really, really good job with his program. He has this thing point that he talks about. He says it's the process, and really, very simply, he had this psychologist come out and talk to his players before a game. And they were overmatched just before he got to Alabama. He was at Michigan State. They were very overmatched. And you know, the psychologist just talked to him about winning the play. And the average football play is about 7 seconds. And he's told them, you know, if you win more 7 seconds than the other team, at the end of the day, you'll win the game. Don't worry about the scoreboard at the end. Worry about the process. Worry about every 7 seconds that you do. And so for us as a district, whether it's a teacher teaching a lesson in front of her students in the class, or his students in the classroom, that's their 7 seconds. My day-to-day job, whether I'm dealing with a personnel action or on a phone call with the board or working with district leadership, those are my 7 seconds. School leaders, as they go in and out of classrooms, those are their 7 seconds. And our students, as they understand what the teachers are asking them to know and be able to do at the end of a lesson, that's their 7 seconds. We're not focused on the scoreboard at the end. We believe the scoreboard at the end will take care of itself. In our scoreboard, we know it's student achievement. We know how we are ranked, what our graduation rates look like, how quickly our students are growing. That's the scoreboard for us. But we're not focused on the scoreboard, we're focused on the process. And so I'd like to just highlight a few things that are I think, of significance in regards to accomplishments, but then also talk about some challenges that we have and then talk about our 5-year plan just very, very briefly. So I think a few things we can really be proud of is first time since the 2012-2013 school year, the district moved to, from a growth standpoint, to a place of satisfactory, meeting the state's expectation. Over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, this district has been a level 1 school system, and that means it's been significantly below expectation. And for the first time, and again, several years, this district has met the standard. But as Chairman said, we're not satisfied with being at the standard. We feel like we should be beyond the standard. We should be a very high-performing school system because all the resources are here to do that. We also saw a year where we had $10 million more in scholarships. And I will tell you, as a father of a 17-year-old that is literally trying to figure out college, I am hoping she finds a little bit of those extra scholarship dollars that are there. And so we're really excited about what our counselors are doing and our teachers and leaders in regards to offering students more opportunities. You probably saw a few days ago that our graduation rate is the highest that it's been since 2012. And we're very excited about that. We think that's, again, just a community, state, national benchmark that's there. It was 86.5%. Up about 2% from last year and up several percent from years past. And that's just, again, another indicator of our counselors and teachers and leaders and our students ultimately and what they're doing in regards to success. We had 17 reward schools, which is a measure that just identifies the top performing schools in the state. And that puts us right up there with, districts across the state in regards to who's done really well. And we also had 25 schools that were considered level 5 schools. So you could go from a 1 to a 5, and we had 25 of our schools that were level 5 schools. I go on about some additional things that we are excited about or leading indicators in regards to where we're headed as we work through this process. But I'd be remiss not to talk about our challenges, okay? And so as I talked about the 25 schools that we have that are doing exceptionally well, we have about 25 schools that are not. And so, from any math people here, y'all got to engage with me. I know it's late, but y'all talk to me now. I'm a teacher at heart. So any math people here, be proud. There's only a few of you, okay? So, you like to see a bell curve. You like to see most of your, when you think about statistics, traditionally speaking, most of your schools are in the middle. We are almost an inverted bell curve right now as a school system. So we have a lot of schools that are on the side of performing below, and we have a lot of schools that are on the side of performing above. And our job is to reduce the variability and move those schools that are not closer to those that are. So that is a real challenge for us, and it's an indicator for us, and was really a driving force for us to organize into our learning communities. This learning community being Missionary Ridge, to really help share best practice across district, to make sure that we reduce the variability and the quality of instruction that's happening across our school system. The other thing that is a challenge for us is we have 9 priority schools. We have 9 schools that are in the bottom 5% of the state of Tennessee. I don't know how that makes you feel, but as a superintendent, as a father, as an educator, that doesn't make me feel very good. The reality is, to give you some context as to how we got there, 5 of those schools were priority schools, have been priority schools for several years. We had 4 more added this year. And what happened with the state, you probably heard about online testing, is that this past year's school data did not count. And so schools, they took data from 15-16 and 16-17 and rolled it forward. And so we had 4 schools that were on what's considered the cusp list, and those schools were pulled forward based on 15-16 and 16-17 data. The encouraging thing for us is we had identified that even upon arrival, and our board really challenged us to do some things differently, and we developed the opportunity zone, and it's a good indicator that we got the schools in that zone that needed the additional support to make sure they were successful, because all 9 of those schools sit there. The other couple of things I'll share that I think are significant challenges, and I'm just very candid, some of them are a byproduct of a merger that transpired 21 years ago, is one, transportation. Transportation is complex in our system because we have contracted drivers and a contract. Raise your hand if you have not seen a story on busing this school year on the news. I didn't think I'd get a single hand. I am just always amazed at that. And in this community, and rightfully so, that, you know, transportation is so critical when you think about the tragedy that happened in Woodmore. But there are some complexities there. Let me say this, and I don't want to minimize it, but some of what you see highlighted on the news is just normalcy within a school system. So I came from Clarksville, it's a district of about 36,000 kids. We had an internal bus fleet, and the first few weeks of school, it was inevitable that you were going to have to do some leveling of buses because more students showed up than you anticipated. You know, from time to time, there's going to be a fender bender here or there. That's just what happens when you're operating a large school system with operations and buses. But what we want to do is reduce those continuously. This is a year for an RFP, so our board will make a decision on the direction we go in regards to transportation going forward. The other thing that is significant for us is our capital, and so our buildings. And we appreciate the community, the mission, our county mayor. I'll tell you, I've had the privilege of coming in a time in the season we could not have a more supportive county mayor of public education, and he regularly reminds us what percentage of the budget that the school system makes up. But he's a great partner in regards to really helping us get to where we need to go. So we had the gift of really being able to have some resources that allowed us to do some work, whether it's building East Hamilton or Harrison or addition to Snow Hills or addressing some other facility needs across the system. But the reality is we got a lot of work to do when it comes to capital. And so again, those two things operationally are byproducts of a merger that transpired 21 years ago, and we're still feeling the effects and grappling with those challenges. Candidly, the priority school status is a result of a merger that happened 21 years ago, and so really you can really connect all those things to that. So shared some successes, shared some challenges. Let me give you our 5 focus areas as we really go forward to the 5 action areas that we're committed to. First is accelerating student achievement. So when we talk about the acceleration of student achievement, we want how many of you have children in our school system, had children in our school system, had children anywhere that were in public education, or raise your hand, or in education at all? Okay. So did you ever ask your child what they learned today? Give me a nod or something. I'm checking for your understanding. All right, good. And what was the answer a lot of times? I think I get a poor response. Nothing. I'm telling you that is not true. All right, that is not true. I even backed off. I'm not talking about Pastor Matt. I didn't say that's a lie. I felt bad about saying that's a lie in church. But that is not true. That is just not true. And I had that in my former system. I'd ask my daughter, "What you learned today?" And she'd say nothing. The reality is we have to do a very intentional job of making sure that our teachers, our leaders, we do a good job of articulating what it is we want the student to know and be able to do at the end of the lesson. So there's this thing called clear targets, clear learning targets that we really are pushing throughout our system. Our teachers have done a great job of posting them, and our students are getting more comfortable with it. But really all it does is takes the standard and deconstructs it and puts it in student-friendly language. So I can add 2-digit plus 2-digit problems. So when we're challenging our parents to ask the question, don't ask what you learned today, say what was your clear target in math, and you're probably going to get a more solid answer. Also aligning our assessments. Our board approved us to do benchmarks, and we feel like benchmarks are extremely important because it gives us an opportunity at least 3 times a year to identify where we are. And I liken it to this, nobody is just going to wait to die. You're going to go to the doctor, hopefully, in between the time you pass, because everybody's going to die, all right? That's true, right? But hopefully you go to the doctor in between that time and check up and see where you are. So those benchmarks are our checkup. We don't want to wait till the end of the year to get the end of the year assessment and figure out, we had a problem at school X or a problem at school Y. We want to make sure we can really be responsive and nimble and push out our resources that we have to be able to support schools. So we benchmark to make sure that we're aligned to what the state expects. And then lastly, we want our teachers to use the most innovative instructional practices. Secondly is future-ready students. So in regards to future-ready students, you've probably heard a little about future-ready institutes. There's schools within schools that are built around career themes. This community, the business, philanthropy, there's so much support here around public education, and we've had great response. But really, we understand our job is bigger than just a graduation rate. Our job is about preparation for life after school. Again, I do everything I think of as a father, and I'm telling you, I want my 17-year-old eventually to come off the payroll. Somebody reminded me that might not happen until she gets about 30, but at some point, right, we want her to get a job, and not just a job, we want her to have a career. And the reality is, everybody's not going to college, and that's okay. That is okay. Our job is to plug them into opportunities that exist where they can earn great livings. And so Future Ready Institutes are a vehicle for us to be able to do that. In addition to that, all of our middle schools are one-to-one. And so in the process of being one-to-one, we'll be by the time we return from fall break. And simply all that means is that every middle school student has a laptop. And so we're excited about that. We have a learning management system and some other online resources. As education continues to move and this community and public education continues to move, we know that's critical. And then the last thing with Future Ready students is advanced placement, dual enrollment, dual credit courses. We want to ensure that we're providing those across this system for our students, and the level of rigor and the challenge we put to them is such that they can really reach their fullest and highest potential. The third thing is great teachers and leaders. So how we recruit, retain, compensate is really important to us, and not just our teachers and leaders, but also our support staff. All of our school leaders have been McGrail Balanced Leadership trained. It really focuses on 3 areas that we know are critical for any leader: create a clear focus, manage and change, and develop a purposeful community or developing a really strong culture. And we also have great partners that work with us that help us continue to strengthen our leadership programs. And so when we look at what we do, we know that our people are the most important asset that we have. Beyond 8% of our budget is people. In fact, it's close to 87, 86, 87% of our budget is people. And so we feel like that's the right investment. In fact, that number stands true for most large organizations. And if you're a people organization, which we are, you have to invest in people. And so whether it's training, whether it's compensation, again, we're excited to be able to give our teaching leaders a pay increase this year. We have to remain competitive, whether it's Bradley County or Georgia, Nashville, Knoxville, Atlanta. We have to look at what others are doing and make sure we're retaining the very best. I've talked to you a little bit about our fourth area, which is efficient and effective operations. We know we have work to do in RFP. We're in the process of working on. Work through with our board around transportation, as well as an RFP that we're working through and we'll be working on with our board in regards to a comprehensive district-wide, building-wide assessment, really looking at all of our buildings and really capturing everything that's there. But in addition to that, working with demographers to determine where the growth is so that we can build smart and then we know where we need to move and shift as we go forward and develop really a 7 to 10 year building plan that will get our buildings on track across this school system, because we believe every student deserves to be in a great learning environment. And we know we have work to do in that area, and that's a community conversation that we'll continue to dig in. And then the last area is communications, so an engaged community. And every opportunity we have to engage with the community, to answer questions. I'll answer about one question tonight. But every opportunity we have to answer questions, to engage, we feel like it's important. And so we've organized, as I shared earlier, into learning communities. We have 5 of those. They have roughly between 80 and 9,000 students in each one. All of them have executive directors over them. I'll tell you, we're really excited about what we're doing from a data standpoint and really trying to be responsive and on time with what we do. So we've set key performance indicators for all 5 of those areas that I've shared. We're looking at data constantly so that we can respond. We don't want to wait till the end of the year. We had our first set of benchmarks that will be finished up. We'll come right back from fall break, and our teachers will have data to be able to plan around and adjust their teaching and learning. We'll have data to plan around to be able to push out coaching support and determine what we need to do. I've spent the last couple of days outside dealing with personnel things and just general managerial thing, also meeting with all of our priority school principals individually and going through their school level action plans and really making sure they're on track as they go forward and they've got their eye on the right thing, and giving them feedback around what it is they may need to do to adjust and how ultimately we can support them. So again, just excited to share a little bit about the work that's going on. I'll tell you, everybody's working hard. We get excited when fall break and spring break and Christmas break come because it comes at the right time. So with that, Commissioner, I'll turn it over. I guess I'll take some questions.
Yeah, take some questions.
Yeah.
If you
I have a question, Dr. Johnson. First of all, thank you for what you are doing in our school system. Number one, can everybody hear me okay?
Make sure it's on, Darren. I don't think
Probably
it's
isn't on.
Up and John.
It's on. How's that? Is that better? First of all, thank you, Dr. Johnson, for what you are doing in the school system. And it feels like that you have been here a lot longer than you have because of your engagement with the community. And I certainly appreciate that on my level. You had mentioned competitive bid process and as far as being efficient. The competitive bid process is something that I'm working on with the city, one of many different areas. But what I have found in that area is that the lowest bidders, so to speak, is where we normally go. But we've also found, like for example, in road paving, that the lowest bidder may not be able to get to the job in time to provide the efficiency that we need in order to speed things along. So my question is, what mechanisms do you have in place to kind of measure the lowest bidder in the competitive bid process, but also weighing that to the best bidder for the project? Thank you.
Sure. So interesting you mentioned that we bid, our operations team bid Snow Hill, the building package, not the building package, but the addition package today. And so there are several in that group that come around. And then, obviously bidders come in. We're fortunate in that there's an understanding of, just historically speaking, because we have so many buildings, who's done work and having a reference point as to what they've maybe done in the past and what maybe some hiccups or issues were in the past as they go to, so they've got that background knowledge. And then we just try to make the best decision around it. Obviously, with any capital project, you're dealing with a budget, and that number becomes an issue. So for instance, like with Snow Hill, we've got about $7 million, I believe is the number budgeted for that addition. And so as you look at that, you might have somebody that's really, really good, but they come in at $8 million. I can't step there even though I want, even I know the product that they're going to do. And so we look at all those things. It's funny, I was just talking to our maintenance guys, we got done meeting, and we talk about the timeline, and we have conversation around, okay, we got an expedited timeline. What additional costs are going to be there if we back off that timeline? Can we save a couple $100,000? What does it do if we back off that timeline for our school and for our growth pattern? And so we try to challenge ourselves and ask all those questions as we work to make decisions.
My question kind of ties into what you were just talking about. I have a brother who is in Texas, and he's a foreman over a crew of electricians, and they're from Guatemala and Mexico and every place else south of the United States. And they do electrical work, but they're not trained. And so even though he may be or his company may be low bid on the contractor, what I was worried about is, hey, if they're not trained to do a good job, what kind of a job are you going to get? So my question is, what about the training that the school system does, vocational training? What are you doing? What's the plan for that?
Yeah, so I talk about future institutes, and I think it's important to note that what those are built around are they're called career technical. So I know everybody's familiar with the vocational term. The state has shifted vocational education to the term career technical education. And so all of those institutes are built around career technical education things now. There are some trades that we're finding. It's interesting. I was meeting with HR from McKee Foods, and Joe Wingate was actually with me for the first meeting. And in some of our follow-up conversations, we talked to the HR department. It's not so much that they need people to work the lines; they're missing the trades. And so we've been having a conversation in the works, doing some things in some locations across our district. TCAT has been a great help. So we anticipate pretty soon announcing some things and some partnerships, some things that are happening to really look at plumbers, electricians, things of that nature, because we know there's definitely a need there. Welding is another area that we aspire to continue to accelerate. But definitely we know there's a gap there. Every report we talk to, there's a gap there. And so we're committed to continuing to have those conversations and seeing how we can beef up. We have some of those programs existing. Like we have auto programs in several schools, but we're trying to make sure the quality of those programs and what those students are actually getting, whether it be an ASC certification, whatever it is, that is actually tangible and they can apply that to what it is they're trying to do. So it's a great question.
Dr. Johnson, I want to first of all make a comment publicly just about the job you've done. I really appreciate everything you've done because you walked into a very challenging situation. And one thing I noticed is you shook up the culture of the Department of Education, which needed to happen. And I noticed that it seems like teacher morale has really gone up. When I was elected, or first elected, I started scheduling meetings with our principals and state representatives, and they would share, very reluctant to share challenges they were facing every day. And it seems like they're more open, and the morale has really gone up. So I want to commend you on that. My question is, we get a lot of criticism about the cost of construction when it comes to building a school. I know that Joe Wingate and I actually went out a couple of summers ago, did a study, looked at some schools in Georgia, and we often get asked by our constituents, why does it cost so much to build a school in Hamilton County? I don't want to get into the weeds, but if you would briefly discuss maybe the architect selection process, how that's done, and kind of why on the cost, because I know that we're building schools to last a lot longer. If you would just talk briefly on that.
Yeah, so great question. It's interesting coming as a new superintendent because you, in a building process, that presents a unique set of challenges. So what we go through is each project has a committee of folks that's comprised of community members, respective school board member that are a part of that committee, and we go through the process of trying to determine they go through the process of trying to make a recommendation around who the appropriate architect is or would be for that particular project. Again, we take things into consideration like their previous work. Is it somebody that is very skilled at just doing additions, or is it somebody very skilled at building entire buildings from the ground up? And so they try to take all that into context, make recommendations. The mayor and I work around those recommendations to make a final recommendation to the board, and then obviously that goes to the commission. So, as we dug into the conversation around what's happening in places like Georgia, we definitely looked at that, but then also we looked at what was happening in just areas across the state of Tennessee. And what we found was that our building per square foot dollar was coming in well within range of what we're finding happening across the state. I think, again, I'm going to go back to the point that you made. Skilled laborers are just fewer and further between, and that's driving the cost to build a building today versus what it was 2 or 3 years ago when the economy's doing pretty well, and that impacts us as well. But I think the other thing that I'll point to that I've just seen in my short time here is that when the district has built schools, they built really good schools. And so they're built to last. For instance, I didn't realize until we got into the building process that Orchard Knob Elementary, for instance, it's roughly like 12, 13, maybe 15 years old. It's a pretty old building, a little bit further along its life cycle. But if you go in there and you see, what it looks like and where it is, it really is in really pristine shape. And we have several buildings like that. So, we try to do things from a quality context. Geothermal, which is in the ground. They're just things like that from an energy efficiency standpoint that our system has done over time and it's proven to hold up pretty well. So we'll continue. We're committed to continuing to look at efficiencies. I think we're in a season right now because of, and I'm going to give this as a number. Now, we are 550 square miles as a county, but we have a little over 44,000 students. Right up the road, Rutherford County is growing, and they're right about the same as far as their student enrollment population, but they have 30 less buildings. We have about 78, 79 buildings that we operate from day to day. Some of them are geography, but some of them are just because they've been here. And again, the effects of emerging 21 years ago. And so you've got buildings that need some attention, and then you've got some buildings that are just in great shape. So overall, that's kind of the process that we go through and our team goes through, and obviously working with that committee, making a recommendation and trying to build buildings that are going to last for a long period of time. Our roofs, we want roofs that are going to be on for a long period of time. Everything that we do, we want to make sure that we're not having to come back to the community in 5 years and say, oh, that building we put up, we've got to do thing X or thing Y. We need, $5 or $6 or $7 million for it.
Hi, my question is very simple, but a little lead up would be, I want to go back to when you mentioned the bell curve of the success of our students in our county. Now, philosophically speaking, yes, you do want those who are not as successful to get closer to those who are more successful. However, due to a certain administration, when I was in middle school, I'm a millennial, so when I was in middle school, we had a certain federal administration that passed a certain act, No Child Left Behind, that introduced standardized testing, and that did the opposite for our bell curve. That brought those who were doing more successful a little bit down, so that those who were doing less successful looked like they were more successful. I grew up in that system. I am first-hand experience of that system. It happened in middle school for me. And my question is what is this county doing differently to stop that regression from happening?
The regression of the top performing schools, or I'm just trying to clear. Yeah, so our 17 schools that were reward schools for being in the state, all but 16 of them have traditionally been very high performing schools. So our schools that are doing well have continued to do well, and that's a good thing. So you talk about the White House and the schoolhouse. So things that happen in the White House affect us all the way down to the schools, right? And we feel that every single day. People don't realize that a lot of time legislation is passed, and it's passed, and we just have to implement it. Sometimes I wish on the front end we had more input on what happened. So whether it's No Child Left Behind or it's ESSA, so for instance now we're on the Every Student Succeeds Act, and it's got several indicators, Ready Graduate, which is a combination of what's called early post-secondary opportunities, which are AP dual enrollment, dual credit. Students have to take a certain amount of those. They look at chronic absenteeism, they look at achievement, they look at growth, and so it has several different metrics that it looks at. And I think it's done a better job of really capturing the whole picture of the school community. The problem is it is complex to articulate. And they've taken that very complex system, which ESSA now is, and they will eventually boil it down to a letter, and that's what's coming. So schools get an A, B, C, D, or F. So you've taken this complex system, and now you're putting a label on school, will be putting a label on school. So, you might have a school that's let me give you for instance, they've taken and I don't go too deep into the weeds on this, but you asked a good question. So they're taking our English language learners, for instance, what's called the N count, or the number of students that has to be there for that subgroup to be counted. That number now has been reduced from 30, and it used to be if a school had less than 30, then the EL students weren't considered a subgroup. Now they've taken that number and pushed it down to 10, right? And not only have they done that, but that's 40% of the weight for your achievement score. So if I have 11 students that are English language learners and 7 of them don't do very well, which could happen, now that's 40% of my total score, which is now calculated into my AB. Y'all follow where I'm going? So you've put a label on the school, and really it's not that it's a small thing. We won't go 7 kids to move, but so there are just things like that we are going to see. It is, but it's more comprehensive, so there's good and bad to it. So, oh yeah, the federal government, if you look at the State Department of Education website, the Every Student Succeed Act, it's called ESSA. It'll give you all the details and nuances of it, and it's going to be a good challenge for us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you challenged me today, man. That's all the cobwebs.
I'm not going to ask a question of you, but I'm going to make a statement to everybody here. I grew up at the end of World War II, starting school, and went to a school that had good students, but not all of them, but it was an integrated school. None of my white student fellow students made it a name for themselves nationally. One of the black students did. His first name was Sonny. His last name was Liston. You know, guy that knocked out Muhammad Ali. Then I moved to a country school. It was 120 of us in high school, and my class of 24 was the largest graduating class up to that point in that school. But we need to tell parents and people they have to challenge their students. Because about 20 years ago, I was doing consulting in Chattanooga, and one of the things that really shocked me was to find out how many of the workers in the factories and corporations here that I went and interviewed, because I was working in human relations area, they just look down on education. And you've got to get that turned around. Education is not for the elite, it's for everybody. So if you know neighbors that start talking that way, turn them around, because that's where the real problem comes. And I know that because my wife's taught 20 years at Bestie Shepherd Elementary, which when she went there was a Title I school. That's why she wanted to go there. I want to go where I can really make a difference, she said. And Bestie came from having problems to being one of the top schools.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if what I have is a question as much as a comment, but I just wanted to say how appalled I was as a woman to hear what the vice principal at Soddy Daisy had to say last week. And I hope that you have some comment to make about that and how you might go about changing that kind of attitude. I couldn't believe it.
Thank you for the comment. Obviously, we've been dealing with that the last week. First, let me say that I think I shared that that's not, that comment's not indicative of what we believe and who we are as a school system, what we really desire to be and what we believe for children. So, as a father, as a husband, a wife, and as a son of now deceased mother, I personally have a deep appreciation for what women do in general. I will also say that it's not something that we took lightly and don't take lightly. It is something that we have continued to dig into to make sure, first off, it's an isolated or as isolated an incident as possible. But we also understand we're a public education system, and we are about education, and we are about teaching. And it's definitely a teachable moment, a teachable opportunity. That particular administrator has acknowledged that what he said was not who he is and who we are. Again, it is something that we've taken very, very seriously. And ultimately, I think one of the most unique things that has transpired through this last week's investigation that's going on is that the students' voices have come out. And what's what we're here for? We're here for children. And so what we're really working to do, Karen Glenn, who is over our Students Taking the Right Stand work, which really deals with school culture and climate, we're really going to be going into that school and doing some things around culture and climate, surveying students, and really allowing them and their voice to help set the direction for what they desire for school culture. And so I will tell you that the whole administration and teachers, the community is taking a step back, and I think they've been reflective in regards to what's there. But again, those comments were, they were excusable, and there's not a reason or desire to even have that reflect us whatsoever. So definitely appreciate your comment in regards to that. And I would tell you, I would pass my phone over to the mayor. I got so many emails over the last week. I've got them from across the country, literally, It's just unbelievable, you know, that on both sides of it, you know, on both sides, those that, you know, say, okay, it was, you know, we watch the whole video and we see that, you know, that wasn't the intent, definitely wrong. But then, you know, those that say differently. So our job as school system to take all that information in, to try to investigate it wholly and make sure, you know, and let me say this last thing. A lot of people want things to happen overnight, right? So incident happens Wednesday, you want us to spell the consequence by Thursday, or whatever the case may be. We wouldn't be doing right for children, we wouldn't be doing right for a school community if we operated like that. So we try to be very judicious, dig into it, make sure we understood what was going on in the school. We got a good picture of some things and some things that we'll continue to work with them on to address. So thank you for your comment, and know that we took it to heart. I promise you. Anything else?
Got a question real quick, just about the Future Ready initiative. I know it's very early because we've just started this year, but what do enrollment numbers in the programs look like, and what is the prognosis for next year as we move into the second year?
Yeah, so we have over almost 1,300 freshmen that are enrolled in Future Ready institutes, and so that's over a third of our freshman cohort. And just to give a little context to that, when we started out, we thought we'd have between 6 and 8 schools. I stood in front of principals and basically said, hey, y'all, this is an idea. What do you think? If you're interested, we'd love to talk to you. Here's a date. Come meet. Let's discuss it further. And literally, we went from thinking we'd have 6 to 8 to in 13 schools having 20 because the principals just wanted to do it. There was no make them do it. And very great response from students. And I think one of the most interesting, or one of the most heartwarming ones was there's a student at Red Bank High School that's a 9th grader. And they started their year off at Unum, and we're doing some training at Unum. And his comment after the first week to one of his teachers was, this just feels different. And you know, the benefit of the Future Institute is that it's a small learning community. And so really once you take the name off of it and you get down to the core of what it is, it's a small learning community, a school within a school. And really what we're challenging our teachers to do is, our teachers to teach math, English, science, and social studies, we're asking them to teach it through the lens of that career technical education course. And so for instance, I'll use health science. What we're asking our English teacher to do is, your standard might say, to cite textual evidence, which is just simply to be able to pull from multiple pieces of text, facts that support your argument. Instead of giving them a piece of text on Shakespeare or Thoreau, take a step back. Could you use a technical piece of text that's from the medical field that student is actually engaged in? And oh, by the way, here goes the real world problem. You know, how do we solve healthcare issues, or how do we deal with something we're dealing with right now, educating our students and our community about drugs, you know, and the dangers of using them, and don't take action, don't access everything that's there. So we're trying to solve real world problems through that. And again, we've had very good response. Our business community has been just tremendously supportive of it, and it's been good. Turn it over to Mary.